YouTubers, and welcome to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's review I'm taking a look at the latest figure in the 5-inch range, or the 5.5-inch range, which is the 12th Doctor, which is the first figure we've had in about a year, I think. The last figure that we saw was the Time of the Doctor set, which was the 11th Doctor with the interchangeable 12th Doctor head, and this is the first time we've seen this version of the Doctor in this original scale. So let's begin by taking a look at the new packaging. So the 12th Doctor is the first figure in the new Collector's series, which come in these brand new window boxes. As you can see, some of the design elements from the previous classic figures have been retained, such as the diamond shapes, the Doctor Who TV movie logo, and the Starfield effect. However, there are some new elements, such as this purple hue and red hue towards the bottom, kind of similar to what we see in Matt Smith's Series 7B title sequence. And on the back we have a brand new biography for the 12th Doctor, as well as a quote from the Doctor himself, and we also have a picture of the figure. And the new packaging insert for the box again retains the elements from the previous classic series packaging with the diamonds and the Starfield effects. However, this time we've got some elements from the new Series 8 title sequence with the cogs and the Gallifreyan text. So out of the packaging, let's take a quick look at the figure's articulation. So, to begin with, we have articulation at the head, which can do 360-degree turns if you really forced it. So for now, I'm just going to show you that it turns left and right. The arms can move out to the side as well as swivel back and forth. We also have bicep articulation, which can do 360-degree turns, and elbow articulation, so the arms can pivot up and down. And wrist articulation, that can also do 360-degree turns. There's also articulation at the waist, which can turn ever so slightly. You could probably push it to go all the way around, but because of the jacket and his shirt piece, this can't really move too well. It's slightly hindered. And we have the usual T-crotch joint, so the legs can move forward and pivot out to the sides as well. There's also articulation at the top of the thigh, which again, it can turn 360 degrees. And we also have articulation at the knees so that they can pivot back and forth. Interestingly, we also have ankle articulation. Not that it pivots up and down, this actually swivels out to the sides, back and forth. So the figure retains all of the usual articulation that we've come to expect from the 5-inch range. Now, I know a lot of people have been saying, is this the same range as the previous range? Because the box says it's 5.5 inches. Actually, the original figures were 5.5-inch scale. For some reason, calling it 5-inch scale just seemed to have stuck. So this is the same scale. However, we will go on to talk about what is going on with the size of this figure a bit later on when I compare him to the other Doctors. But for now, let's just take a quick look at the details. So, in terms of likeness, I personally think it's a good likeness of Peter Capaldi. It's neutral-faced. I have seen that a few people aren't so keen. They think they've really lost it. It doesn't look like him at all. I don't think that's the case. I think the problem here is that the sculpt is very soft, and because of that, some of the cragginess of his face, he should have lines across his forehead and around his eyes, that's all lost, and so you don't get that. I think another thing that possibly could have helped with this Doctor was perhaps if they'd have painted the eyebrows on arched, maybe to make him look like he was frowning, just to give him a bit more expression. I think it would have just helped push the likeness a little bit more, but in all honesty, I think it looks okay as it is. He also has the shorter haircut that he had for most of Series 8, and this has just been done with a dark grey wash and then a light grey wash over the top, and it works really well. If we move down to his jacket, you can see the seams sculpted around the lapels and also the little buttonholes. Further down, we have more of the buttons and more buttonholes. Again, there's still a bit of this softness to the sculpt everywhere, so this seems to be something that has been retained not just in the head, but also in the jacket itself. Moving on to the back of the jacket, again there are more seams, again very detailed, and also some pockets have been sculpted in. Obviously you can't use them, but again it's some nice attention to detail. On the coat sleeves, we also have a series of buttons on the cuffs. One thing to note, however, is that the ends of his jacket have been painted white. Now, in actual fact, there is a very tiny bit of sculpting here to make it look like there's a bit of his white shirt pointing out, but nowhere near as much as what we've got painted on there. So actually the paint is spilling over onto the coat sleeves itself. And actually, if you look on his right hand, you can see that the paint here is sort of slightly thin and then it goes a bit thick. So the paint here isn't great. It is quite sloppy, which is a bit of a shame. And something that was missing from the 3 3/4 inch version of the 12th Doctor, the inside of the coat has been painted painted red. Not that you can see it very much when the coat's closed, but I'm really pleased that they've done this because it was something that seemed quite strange to be missing on the 3 3/4 inch version. If you look at the trousers, again, very straightforward. These are a dark grey colour, nicely sculpted, the way the fabric folds and all the different creases and the seams. And then moving down to his boots, these have been produced in a nice glossy black plastic. And again, lots of nice detail here. You can see all the small dots, the laces have been sculpted in, and the soles of his shoes have actually been painted a sort of off brownish grey colour. So if we make our way back up to the torso of the figure, the one thing that I haven't mentioned yet is the shirt area. So this is one of 4 new versions of the 12th Doctor that's coming out. When this came out, everyone was a bit surprised because there is something quite obvious missing from this look, and that's his cardigan. Now, the only thing that I can think of is that they thought, well, look, we've got 3 different versions of the costume which doesn't have the cardigan, it's just a standard shirt which we can repaint different colours. Let's forget about doing the cardigan version and we'll just do it as one shirt. A bit disappointing, really, but one thing I have noticed with this figure, which means that we could possibly see the cardigan version or other versions, is that the whole shirt area here is actually a rubber PVC piece. Another nice bit of attention to detail that I like about this figure is the Doctor's hands. So his right hand is the usual sonic screwdriver holding hand, which we've seen on all the Doctors, whereas this version on his left hand, which is more like the pose that he made in those initial Series 8 publicity pictures, but he also has the ring that he wears sculpted onto his hand, including the green jewel, and that has been painted green, and the ring band has actually been painted gold, so that's a really nice touch. He also comes with a single solitary accessory, which is his sonic screwdriver. So the sonic screwdriver is a different sculpt from the previous ones that we've seen. Obviously, it's the same sort of sonic screwdriver as the 11th Doctor used, but in this case, this is closed because he doesn't really open it very much in the new series. Very nicely painted, got the bronze colour, the black, the cream, and the silver, and then we have the green emitter at the end. What's strange, however, is that when you compare this to the open version, they're both the same length. So surely the open version should be longer than this. Bit weird. But here he is standing alongside his other incarnations. And as you can probably see, there's something not quite right. He is absolutely massive compared to the other Doctors. I did double check to make sure that Peter Capaldi wasn't a giant, and I didn't think he was that tall a man. Tom Baker and John Pertwee are the tallest Doctors, I think followed by Colin Baker and possibly Peter Davison and maybe David Tennant. They're all very tall men. Capaldi is not as tall as those guys, and yet he is taller than the 10th Doctor by miles, and he's also a lot taller than John Pertwee. This Doctor is in fact taller than 5.5 inches. In fact, he's closer to 6 inches tall, which is mental. So he is probably better suited for being put next to your Marvel Legends figures or your Star Wars Black Series stuff. He does seem slightly out of scale with the rest of the Doctor Who line. This is really unfortunate because obviously they're going to use this same sculpt across all the different versions of this Doctor, and he's never going to be in the right scale. He's always going to be far too tall. That is my only criticism with this figure. I actually really like it. I think it's a nice figure. I think the face sculpt's good. Not one of their best, no, but I think it's still very good. It looks a lot like him. I think it works well for a neutral posed 12th Doctor. I certainly prefer the sculpt to the weird smirky sculpt that we got with the Time of the Doctor set. But if you are more interested in seeing him with the smirky face, you can actually remove the head, like so. And you can see there's a peg there, and you can just put the Time of the Doctor version on top instead. So all in all, it's a great figure. Bit weird that we have such a large version of this Doctor. I don't know why he's come out so big. And of course, the other thing that I'm not so pleased with is the exclusion of the cardigan, which is a bit weird. I can see why they've done it because they're trying to use the same sculpt for the other 3 shirts, but yeah, it just looks a bit strange not seeing him with it, especially when the 3 3/4 inch version already had it. So, thank you for watching this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been great to have a new figure in this range after so long, especially a figure that we never thought would be released. And of course, there is another version of this Doctor coming out in the black and white polka dot shirt very soon. based on his appearance in Kill the Moon, which you only saw it briefly, but that is also coming out towards the end of this month, and I shall be reviewing that too. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time for more Doctor Who reviews in the new Collector series. Thanks for watching.